I am extremely excited because I have a guest on that I haven't talked to in a long time, and we shared a lot of good memories in high school. I'm joined by Ryne Roper, and Ryne, you are a Harrisburg native. You are a state champion basketball player. You are a baseball superstar. You're a quarterback of the football team. You're a math teacher in Korea, and you're going to be an athletic director in Taiwan. What's it like being you?
Man, I was fortunate to have those experiences that you touched on a little bit there in high school, and um, you know, I, to echo that, I was fortunate to be around good people and who elevated me to a lot of those areas and experiences. I think talk about the state championship in basketball in high school. Like, man, I was the definition of a role player. I loved playing defense in the post. I loved taking the pressure off Capel and Tyler a little bit, hitting a three in the corner, or at least having the threat that I could hit a three. um, but so being around those guys, and with football, we had a great offensive line. We had guys that just love to work out. In baseball culture at Harrisburg, like with Coach Thompson, he's closing out on like 1,000 wins. It's just guys that just wanted to be there. They wanted to compete. And so that kind of fueled me and then allowed me to capitalize on my abilities, I guess, because it's one thing to be a good player, but then if you've got good teammates and your team has success, then that individual success can then kind of the light can kind of shine on that a little bit easier. But it's been a fortunate time for me, especially like getting to teach internationally. I've had those experiences through like living in small town America, living in Harrisburg, and then my first 3 years of teaching, I taught in West Tennessee, so very similar rural area as Harrisburg. And my wife, she's a missionary kid, so her parents were missionaries in the Philippines for 17 years, and then in Seoul for 17. And so we were married for 3 years, and she was like, "Hey, do you want to go move to Korea?" And I was like, "Move to where?" um, but she was like, "No, like I can. There's international schools. Like you can get a job. Like we can work. It's going to be very similar. But then you get to have these experiences of living in a different culture, learning how to live in a foreign country, not just visit, which is completely different." Um, and so I'm very, very fortunate, like I said, to have the people around me that have encouraged me in those areas, and then especially my wife pushing me out of my comfort zone to come and live in Seoul. So
That
it's
was
been a
such a
journey for
quarterback
sure.
answer. That was such a quarterback answer. He's really you're really rallying the troops here. I
Yeah,
always
man.
wanted to be I wanted to be good friends with you and your brother Reed. I just I wasn't athletic enough.
No, man, we were good friends. We had a lot of, I remember my freshman year, we had a lot of good JV basketball memories for sure.
I
Me and
had a lot of
Tyler
good
and like
conversations with your
you.
brother. I really
Yeah, yeah,
did. And you
yeah,
as well. Like I had a great time with you and your brother. Your brother was one grade above, and you were two grades
yeah,
underneath. And me and Reed became friends through youth group as well because he started
yeah,
coming when I was in high school, and I think you were probably still in middle school at that point, maybe.
yeah.
And he came over and hung out at the crib a few times too. And I've always appreciated your family. And I did not know about your Philippines connection. My wife's aunt and uncle served in the Philippines for decades. So
Yeah.
I wonder if they would know each other. I don't know, but
I'm sure at some point they either know each other or they know somebody. My wife's parents, they are connected in the missionary world. So they either know them or they know somebody that knows them.
so how do you go from teaching? I'm genuinely curious. I remember seeing this on Facebook or wherever you posted that you're moving, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's a really cool story. And I think, a few weeks ago, Keelan and I were talking about the odds that when we were in high school, someone would have said doctor and author, very
Yeah.
slim. And I think you as well, living in Korea or living in Taiwan, it's
Yeah.
just amazing. It's a story of how you just never know where life's going to take you. And you have to be open. You have to work hard. How do you go from teaching in Tennessee? And I know you kind of said your wife's just like, hey, let's do it. But how does that process really happen? And what was that like? Was it agonizing, like months of decision making, or did you just know right away?
Well, it was a weird time for sure because it was during COVID as well. And so we had thought about it and prayed through it. And one of my wife's older sisters lives in Seoul and works at the school that we're at currently. And so her and her husband were a good like springboard for us to get information. What is it actually like to live there? We had Evie at the time, our youngest or our oldest. She was 18 months, and so navigating, moving there with the kid as well. Excuse me, I think it was probably like December, January of 2019 that we started thinking about it and looking. And the organization that our school is a part of is called NICS. It's an acronym. It stands for Network of International Christian Schools. And so there's about 13 different countries that the network has schools in. And there's varying degrees in terms of like establishment. So there's some that they call like pioneer schools where like you're going there as like a true missionary where you're not getting a salary, you're going to raise everything on your own. Then there's transitional schools, which kind of have a little bit of salary, a little bit of raise your own funds, and then there's established schools. So our school here, YIS, YISS, Youngstown International School of Soul, it's an established school. So it was financially wise, like it was a comparable transition from what we were doing, but then it was an opportunity for us to be able to have multiple nations, multiple kids representing different nations come into our classroom. It was a very unique situation where it's like, we want to go out and share the gospel. But in my classroom every day, I have 25 kids for an hour and a half that come from all different countries of the world. And so it's almost like all the nations are coming to me instead of me trying to go to all these different places. So really cool way to kind of think about it and look at it. And so, I mean, in terms of like getting the job, it's very similar. Schools post their openings. You look at them, you apply. There's some different websites that you can go to that most schools use for recruitment purposes or their own school website, obviously. But very similar. You go through the interview process. They offer you the job, and then you go from there. Obviously, then it's about you got to get a visa, and then you got to make sure you can procure housing, which some schools give housing, some schools don't. And then once you get feet on the ground, then you're just trying to establish your routine and, get a phone and, make sure you know how to get from point A to point B. Obviously that a lot of that depends on what city you're in. So for us living in Seoul, it's, very connected. The public transportation is insane. You can get anywhere you want pretty much throughout the entire country very quickly. And so that was a very cool experience getting to learn how to do that, how to navigate a city.
Do you have to speak? Did you have to learn different languages? What was that like?
No, you don't have to. It's definitely a perk if you can.
Have
But
you?
no, I know a couple things.
I
And I
know
can
a couple
understand something.
things.
I can say hi, I can say thank you. I can ask where the bathroom is, that kind of stuff, which, you don't really ask where the bathroom is. You just find it kind of thing. But
That's the only thing I knew how to say in Spanish in Mrs. Daniels' high school
yeah,
Spanish class was, "Can I go to the bathroom?" It was "Puedo ir al baño." That was
yep.
all I had down. I still know it to this day. But
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, it's one of those things where it's like, it's very, it'd be very good if you did learn the language because you just get to experience the culture a whole lot more. And then the people, like the Korean people, like if you know Korean, they're just amazed. Like they're so happy that you learn their language, and it's a very like respect showing thing as well. And so I wish, obviously, I had done a better job of that. And then now I'm going to Taiwan, where it's like Mandarin or Taiwanese is the language, so I have no shot now. But um, maybe I can learn a couple things. So
Was your family like, please don't do this, or were they pretty supportive? I mean, whatever you could say, because I know it'd be hard. I'm trying to think of like if Griffin said, in 20 years, Dad, I want to go serve overseas, I would be really proud of him. I'd be like, that's really awesome, son. But at the same time, I'd be like, oh, wait a second. I'm sure that was probably one of the hardest parts, wasn't it?
yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of those things where it just basically how you described it, like it's two opposite ends of the spectrum emotion wise. You're happy for the opportunity. You're happy for the ability that you get to experience a new culture and be able to, like I said, have the opportunity to work at a very unique place, an international school. And then for me as a parent, like my kids get the chance to live outside of their home country to where they get to experience other cultures and learn, like these are people, right? It's not like you're American or Korean or whatever. Like we all can live here in harmony. And so for me, like as a parent, I wanted them to have that experience and to get to live that out. But definitely when we first came over here, and what made it even harder was we had EV, right? So like you're taking, obviously myself and my wife were moving, but we also have a grandchild that we're taking with us as well. And so that's definitely something that we thought through a lot, and we didn't want to downplay that emotionally for my parents, for my wife's parents, because it is hard, and we understand that us living over here takes away a lot of those experiences that they would get with their grandchildren or with us. Um, but one thing that we found with that is when we go back stateside in the summer, we have this like concentrated time with both my wife's family and my family, where um, we're cognizant of the fact that this is our time that we're there, and so we're a lot more intentional with how we spend our time and what we do and the conversations that we have. And I've come to find that time is a lot more intentional than what it was when we were living in the States and we would go up for holidays or, every now and then. And so to have that different experience is kind of cool too, even though it is tough. I just FaceTimed my parents a couple hours ago. And so that's kind of the thing that we've been doing over these last 5 or 6 years, which, thankful for the technology to still be able to stay in contact, and they get to see our kids grow up, even though it's through the phone. But, in the summers, that's the time that they're hands on and get to do a lot of activities with them. So it turns out to be kind of the best of both worlds for the kids.
I'll tell you what, there are some days where I wish I could move across the world from my I'm just kidding. My dad listens to all these. Dad, I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
I love you guys so much. The crazy thing is the time difference. And I know it's not crazy. Like, I know people understand it, but it really is like, it was a challenge trying to figure out, all right, you are X amount of hours ahead. So it's
yeah.
your night, my morning, or vice versa. So it's 8:12 p.m. right now. What time is it there?
It is 10:12 a.m. on Friday morning.
So you're in the future. That's just
Yep.
crazy to me to think about. Like, you are literally living in Friday in the future. Like, what happened in my yesterday already,
Yeah,
which makes it kind of hard, right?
yeah,
To communicate and that sort of thing. I want to pepper you with some questions.
for sure.
Just a few like quick hitters. What's the coolest thing about living overseas? What's one of like the coolest things? It's like, man, I didn't even think about this. This is really cool.
Well, so for me, my only experience is Seoul. Right, I've just been here, which we're going to move in July to Taiwan. But so living overseas, I think it's the amount that you grow, like personally, because you have to basically relearn how to do everything and how, especially as an adult, and then with kids as well. So like you got to learn, or some of the things I learned, like okay, how do I get my kid in daycare, right? How do I do that when it's a Korean speaking daycare, and like so. Um, that's one thing I feel like I've grown a lot in terms of my ability to like understand how to do things, even though like I might not understand how to get it done, but I understand like how like the steps that it's going to take, right? The forethought is my forethought on things is a lot higher than it used to be. And so I think being a living in a foreign country, like you have to relearn a lot of those processes that living in your home country just kind of seem natural, or you just see your parents do, or your friends are doing it, and so you follow a lot of those same steps. But um, you have to be a lot more willing to learn and grow when you're living overseas. But then too, like one of the cool things about Seoul is just the variety of like life, right? I mean, you have different neighborhoods in Seoul, which they all look a little bit different. And like I said, with the public transportation, like you can get anywhere you want super quick. Um, there's still a lot of different things to do. Like a buddy of mine, we've gone to every Korean baseball stadium in the country, which I mean, there's only 9 of them, and the country is like the size of Indiana. So it's a lot easier to get to than the MLB stadiums. Um, but just the ability to live and like flourish overseas like, is a cool feeling, especially when a lot of things you do are not in your language.
What are some stereotypes you've heard about Americans or yourself being an American over there? Because I remember my brother had a college roommate from Taiwan, and I asked him, his name was Johnny, and I said, "What do you guys think? What crap do you guys talk about Americans? And he said, "You guys eat so much garbage. You just eat garbage all the time." And I was like, "That's interesting. I just assumed everyone ate a similar food, but we don't." Is there anything that you've experienced where people are like, Americans. Ah,
So one of the things in Seoul, which this is like Korean thing. So um, Koreans are very much like stay in your lane, right? They're not going to talk to you, but it's not like in a mean way. They don't want to bother you, right? You have somewhere to be, they have somewhere to be. Head down, get from point A to point B. Don't bother anybody. So talking about public transportation, like if you're on the bus or if you're on the subway, like there is no talking. Like you are absolutely silent. But you could tell when a couple Americans or even just like people who are not from Korea, like they come on the subway and it's like super loud and they're having a conversation and everybody's like kind of looking at them like, dude, this is not how you ride the subway in Korea. But yeah, the food thing is definitely true as well because even like here we have like McDonald's and Burger King and all that stuff, but all the ingredients are different. So you'll have a lot of the less dyes and that kind of stuff are that's like illegal to have in the food in Korea. And so a lot of things are healthier. There's still like you're going to get a Big Mac at McDonald's. Like it's not the healthiest thing you can get even in Korea, obviously. Um, but just the cuisine right here, it's a lot more lean. It's a lot more like kimchi, right, vegetable focused. And um, another thing about living in Seoul is you're walking a lot too, and it's very hilly. So like there's very few Korean people that are like overweight or obese. They're like very fit, and it's not really like they're working out all the time, but it's just that they walk a lot and they walk a lot uphill. They have to get to work. They don't live near work, um, so a
so
lot of
you're saying you're
differences.
still looking pretty good.
Probably
Rope still
better,
got it. Is
probably better than not the best I
Capel
could be.
better than Capel?
Probably not. He hasn't had a kid
Okay,
yet. Once his kid's born, then we can talk. All that gym
that's
time he's had,
that's very true. It's gone.
that's about to go out the
It's
window.
it's straight up gone. You talked about pro sports. What's that like? Because it's hard to match American pro sports. The closest thing you're going to get is soccer
Yeah.
in Europe, and then really it's a lot of just kind of stepping down after that. Is it hard to adjust to go? All right, I'm going to go professional game in Korea and just appreciate it for what it is, or is it kind of like have you developed like oh I love it because it's just our little thing?
Yeah, the baseball is very different because it's a party. I mean, there's chants, there's cheers are going all the time. Every player has their own cheer. Each side has a cheering section. So like when you go to buy tickets, you can choose like are you buying a cheering section ticket where you're going to stand up and cheer the whole game or not, right? And you got to
That's
choose like
awesome.
which team you root for. Yeah, it's crazy. It's awesome. Um, so, but the level of play, I mean, it's probably like comparatively probably double A or like low triple A type. Um, where like each team can have three foreign players, and so those guys are typically like they played a couple of years in the big leagues, whether it was a pitcher or a position guy, but they just got cut or didn't make it or whatever reason. But no, the games are super fun. It's an experience for sure. Um, and like one thing that my friend and I we like to do is to go to the different stadiums, and that was kind of a way for us to see the country as well. So like Korea has the high speed trains that you can get anywhere you want. So we went to this past weekend. We went to Changwon, which is down at the southern part of the country, and we just took like the high speed train. It's like a 3 hour train. Left here on a Sunday or a Saturday morning, like 6 a.m. Got there at 9. Walked around the city a little bit. 2 o'clock game. Stayed the night. Got up next day. Came back to Seoul. So super easy to get around. But yeah, the games are very fun.
That's really cool. I didn't, it kind of makes me think of, I know the only experience I have of watching, this is going to sound so stupid, of watching foreign sports is Ted Lasso. That's all I got. And it reminds me of like the player chants and stuff. I was like, that's so cool. And I watched that. That would be
Yeah.
really cool. Now in high schools in America, I don't know if you know this, student sections are basically getting banned from chants. So like my last year coaching, my own student section could not chant like airball. They couldn't chant whatever it was to the refs. And it was really a big bummer. I told my athletic director, I said, if we airball shot, we deserve to be yelled airball at. And,
Yeah.
like if I want kids to, taunt me lightly, not like crazy, but because that's
Yeah,
part of the game. I don't, and we're
it
just
is.
so sensitive over here. Is that sensitivity a thing there?
Well, I mean, when you think about athletics, man, international school athletics is totally different in terms of crowd control because there basically is no crowd. um, we're like here at our school, we'll play, like for a basketball game, right? We got JV boys. Typically, we have JV girls. Didn't have it this year, but JV boys, JV girls, varsity boys, varsity girls, and you play all on the same night. And it's like one after the other. In a good situation, you'll have two gyms. Our school only has one, so it's like you're starting the first game at like 3:40. So basically, right after school, somebody's playing, and then you just play back to back to back. And so the the student interest in terms of like coming and like having a cheering section, like that's just not part of the international school culture. It might be at some like really really big schools that have like 3,000 students or something like that, but most of the schools that I've experienced, like, that's just not a thing because our students, if you're not in athletics, like you're leaving school and you're going to some other place to like study basically. So you're going to like a study academy and you're doing like ACT, SAT, you're doing something. And so the crowd control is basically non-existent. So really to answer your question, like I can't answer it because it's never really been there. Um, so which is different, and it kind of feels like the game atmosphere is not as it's definitely not what I was used to in Harrisburg, right? Where you got student section chanting our names, like doing the Yankees roll call until we look at them and stuff like that. But um, it's different for sure. Still good, but
Is there some sort of training in sports management where you stop saying sports and start saying athletics? Because Capel does the same thing, where it's intercollegiate athletics, and you're saying athletics. Is there like a period of time where you just stop saying sports and move on to I say athletics now?
I don't know. I guess when you get into some of the sports administration or athletic administration, that's just like the lingo. I think too, athletics maybe is tied more to the school. Maybe would be more of a
It
make
sounds more
a connection.
dignified.
Yeah, whereas sports is just like you could go and play on your rec league team or whatever. But
I got a
it's a
few
good
more
question.
things for you. First
Yeah.
thing, you got me into this fantasy baseball league. Number one, I don't know a single player. That's number one. And my draft strategy was very simple. Number one, I thought the draft was an hour later than it was. So I logged in and I was like, I committed to being here and I planned on it and I did it. And I missed the first two picks. And my strategy was very simple. I listened to Bill Simmons' podcast, and he's a big Boston guy. And I was like, I need to have some sort of natural update that I don't have to look into. So I was going to draft as many Red Sox as possible. And they're terrible this year. They're like 1-6. And but I do
Early.
remember, like, I was like, Roman Anthony was great in the classic, and everyone's like, he's gonna be awesome, and he's been bad. And I don't know any of these people. Do you know these people? Are you following, or are you just guessing? Be honest.
I know some of them, but I'm not watching any games. Because especially with baseball, like there's a lot more day games than there are basketball, and so like here, most of the games are like 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning. Like I'm not number one, I'm not going to pay to watch that, and then number two, I'm not waking up to watch that. So I don't really know the guys. I I just kind of look on the fantasy app at some of their stats that they've had and see if I need to make any ads or drops or whatever. But I did it last year for the first time, and it was like a public league. We did it points, kind of like fantasy football. But then I've done fantasy basketball with some guys here for like the last 4 years, and we do a category league. And so I wanted to try categories. But then I don't know if I'm really liking it for baseball or not because, I think about basketball. Like if you draft Jokic, right, like he's going to get you 20 points, double
You
double
win
for
no
sure,
matter what. Yeah.
but maybe a triple double, right? But first guy drafted in baseball, like take Judge or Otani, like they could go 0 for 4 and literally get you nothing on any given night. So baseball fantasy is so different where it doesn't matter how good or bad your guys really are. Like you're just kind of hoping they have a good day, really. You know?
I don't even know what the acronyms mean. I got a promising young lad from the White Sox. His name is Colson Montgomery. He's been pretty good. And he's got PPD next to his name. I have no idea
Yeah,
what PPD
so
means.
their game got rained out. It's postponed.
Uh,
Yeah,
I thought it was some sort of injury. Okay, see, that tells you where I'm at here. So I don't
yeah,
know. I'm going to stick with it, and I'm going to, I did beat Reed last week. I'm pretty
yeah.
sure.
Well,
I'm
Borders
sure that
smoked
hurt his
me,
feelings.
so
Yeah.
Borders
Well,
smoked me. But
you
his
can't be
team's
as good
good.
as me in Borders. Um, and I also don't even know who's in the league. I I have a decent idea who about seven of the 10 teams are.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I don't know
we got me and you.
Who's Brew Crew.
Bruku is Cody Hall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Doris
So yeah,
Heights Dogs.
that's me.
Oh, I got you. Well, I don't know
Doors
why I
High
clicked
there.
yours. Hot Core, Keelan, obviously.
Keelan, yeah.
Kyle Butler, Reed Roper. Who's
That's
Jordan Tomers?
Kyle Hall. That's Cody's brother.
Oh, Kyle Hall. I thought it was Kyle Butler.
Yeah. No, Cody's brother.
Dadgum. See, I just
Yeah.
read Kyle. Who's Jordan Tomers?
That's Quatermus.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So I have no idea who's
Hey
even in the
man, I
league.
was struggling to get 10, so I was happy that I was reaching out to all the different, you played baseball, you played basketball, you have some kind of sports following a little bit. So we'll see how it goes for the year. We could change some stuff up if we want to keep doing it, but
I think it's something. I might learn
like
something.
yeah.
I've got two more things for you before I let you go
Yeah.
because I know your time is different here. I have a would you rather for you because you've been listening
Okay.
for me to me give them to Capel and Keelan and my favorite part is Keelan's so into it. Like he's like
Yeah.
smiling. He's like yes, and Capel's like dreading having to answer them.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to give Ryne a chance to chime in here. So here's your two options. Okay. And I come up with all these on my own. I don't Google them. Just so you know, I don't Google them. I don't ask anyone. I sit there and I think, what's a strange situation you could be in? And then what's an equally strange situation you could be in? So your two options are you have to be the lead character in an opera for the night. Like you have to walk on stage in front of thousands of people and like sing your heart out embarrassingly for
Okay.
the night, which the embarrassment is very clear there. Or you have to try to perform a surgery with no training tonight. So
Okay.
not
So
as
my
much
question,
embarrassment, but you could hurt somebody.
yeah. So for the opera, like, do I know what I'm doing?
No, you are going as you.
I don't know the lyrics. I haven't practiced. Like, I don't know anything.
You're getting like you're getting like a teleprompt probably because I couldn't expect you
Okay.
to just make up the lyrics. So,
Yeah.
but you don't know what you're doing for either of these. Like you are going as you.
I think opera for sure.
You would do
Yeah.
like that would be humiliating.
I think it would be, but if I'm going as me, then the people that I care about that I would be humiliating in front of, like they would know that, hey, you're not an opera singer, but you're just doing it to do it. You know what I mean?
But you know what? That's a good nuance. I don't think the people know it's you. They are expecting you to be like the main
I probably
act.
have a
They are
mask on
paying.
or something like,
They're
right?
no mask.
No,
They are
no.
paying top dollar to hear their favorite opera, and you are the singer. As opposed to, I thought about the surgery, and I thought at first I was like, "There's no way," but then I was like, I could maybe figure it out. And also, if I didn't, nobody would know. They wouldn't know it
Yeah.
was me. I just have
Maybe
to
what
live
kind
with
of
whatever I
surgery as
did.
well? Like, are we talking like an ACL or are we talking like a heart transplant?
No, we'd go minor. We couldn't do like a
Okay.
heart or brain,
Yeah.
but you could go like a MCL. You could do an MCL. Could you snip an MCL and patch it back
Yeah. I
together?
mean, if I had a diagram of what I'm looking for, but
There you go.
my anatomy knowledge is pretty limited.
Okay,
So
so you're
I would
going
probably have to
opera.
go with the opera.
I don't think I could do the opera. Like I would be so embarrassed. Like,
I mean, it would be embarrassing, but I think
and it
I would
would
rather do
last
that.
I think they're like 3 to 4 hours. They're like long. A
Yeah,
surgery, you're locked into 20 minutes, 30 minutes of like a
yeah, that's
pretty
true.
intense situation and you're out.
Yeah, the time is definitely a factor into the consideration, but
Okay.
I still go opera.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um I got just one more thing for you and I was trying to figure out how exactly to go about this and I was kind of weaving through like, what do we say? What do we do? And I'll be I'll be general. I think we just place such an overemphasis on sports sometimes to where I see it in people. They are superstars in sports, and that's their whole life. And then they graduate, or they play in college, and then they graduate, or they move on. However, the ball stops bouncing. And I just think like we have to make sure that kids know like their value is not in their jersey number, it's not in their statistical category, it's not in their win loss record. I think so many people think that is all there is to life. And that's the first thing. I just want people to know you are more than your jersey. Like you should try as hard as you can. You should love it. You should practice. You should train. But that's not your life. And the second thing is sometimes we think we're so far gone that we we just assume there's no way out. And I just want people to hear like with Jesus, there's a way out every time, every single time. It doesn't matter what you've done. You could do the worst thing imaginable. Every single time there's a way out and there's grace. There's unimaginable grace and there's somebody to go to. If you think the whole world's against you, whatever billion people, like there is somebody who cares about you, no matter what. And there's nothing you can do wrong there.
Yeah. I mean, I was close with Eli in high school. Um, he and I roomed together on our state championship trip. Um, Eli's a great guy, awesome player, just God given ability, you know. I don't know. In high school, I don't know if he worked out. I don't know. He just showed up and he was ripped. He was ready to go. He was a good guy, good player. And I Cape will text me with that news and yeah, man, it broke me for sure. Um, it's one of those things I wish I would have stayed in contact with him a little bit more. Um, I saw him a couple times throughout the summer when we went back, but yeah, it makes you think about life, right? About the brevity of it. Um, and to see a guy that you went to high school with that's not with us any longer, it's tough. But I think, like you said, that we, unless we have a relationship with Jesus, then you're going to continue chasing that joy, continue chasing something that is just going to continue to evade you. Um, and so I think that's the thing that, like you said, that we want people to understand is that you know having a relationship with Jesus, that is the peace, that is the hope, that is the comfort. Um, Long after that, that's something that does not fade. It doesn't dissipate. It doesn't go away. When you graduate high school or when you move on or when you get married, it's the rock, it's the foundation. But it's like you said, it's every situation is different and it's hard to understand, what people are going through. But all I know is that, I loved Eli like a brother, right? And a lot of us did. And so it's tough to see him go. And I just wish I could, hug his neck one more time and go to the gym with him. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, no. And if you're listening and you have questions and you're like, Hunter, I'm not so sure. How could God? How could Jesus? How could whatever? I'd love to answer your questions for you. I don't know if you're going to get the answers you want, but I would be happy to have that conversation with anyone. Shoot me a DM on anything. And I'd love to do that. I thought it was important I bring that up with you. I know your playing background in high school and also your faith as well. And I just wanted to give us an opportunity to touch on that as it does impact the community. Ryne, I really appreciate this. Like I've been looking forward to this all week. I miss hanging out with you. Tell your brother I said hi, please, next time you talk to him. Hope he's doing well. Thanks for joining. You got anything coming up Easter weekend? You guys got anything going on?
We were on our spring break this week, so our school kind of tied it in with Easter. So just hanging around Seoul and back to work on Monday. So, but just got about a couple weeks or a couple months left, and then we'll be back to the States for the summer, and then off to Taiwan in July.
We may have to have some sort of Harrisburg reunion situation. 'Cause there's a lot of people I've connected with over the past year doing this that I would
Yeah,
really like to see again. So I appreciate this. Tell a fam I said thank you for sharing your time with me, and
of course.
I'll talk to you soon, man.
All right, man. Sounds good. See you later.
Take care.